I want to stay on the subject of transformation just a bit longer because most recently you were head of strategy and transformation for Commonwealth Bank. And then you're also the head of CX transformation, digital experience over at Westpac. When it comes to leading transformational initiatives, transformational strategies, we're dealing with people too. There's this whole human transformation that also has to coincide with digital transformation. The big challenges, what are they? The big challenges, the big roadblocks for those that are listening or those that are watching when it comes to human transformation that often holds not the technology back, but holds the people back from maximizing the technology.
Yeah, listen, the two things, fear and fear of failure. A lot of that is driven then by time in leadership and time in position. So from a people perspective, the bit I found most fascinating as I've as I've been able to work across different markets is the amount of time it takes for senior executives in the large banks to get to that position of authority. If I've spent 15 years, 20 years of my career trying to get to the top, once I'm at the top, if you're then telling me, okay, everything you learned to get here is no longer relevant, the branch, maybe even telephone, forget that. You now need to go and do this new thing over there. It's like, well, I've learned this trade for 15 years. I'm now earning the big bucks, and you want me to make a shift to something else? Then maybe my journey is going to stop here. And so what I have found from the people side of that transformation is, whilst it has to start from the top, there's often this level of fear from the senior executive circle community where they've been there a long time, they've built this fiefdom, is to let that go and accept that banking moving forward is in a different guise and a different structure. And I've often found that has been the biggest hurdle to overcome.
Yeah. You talk about this struggle when it comes to change, when it comes to transformation. Something that you were discussing a while back with a longtime friend of yours. I think his name was Tom. And y'all had worked together, and y'all were talking about imposter syndrome and how you look back on your own imposter syndrome. You mentioned fear while it rolls at HSBC in Hong Kong. I'm curious because you're onto something here, and I see the same thing. It's almost like we have to let go to grow because the world is transforming at such a rapid pace. And you mentioned the environmental changes. You've got technology transformation. You've got consumer behavior transformation. How does one, and then it's like, well, how do I even keep up with that? Because I'm kind of busy running this thing that I don't have time to review what we've done, to learn, to think about how to do even better. How does one, and so we kind of fake it along the way. But I'm glad you addressed this in this podcast, which is why I want to come back and bring this up here. Because someone who is watching or listening, they're like, that's me. I'm struggling with this imposter syndrome right now as we're entering into what I'm calling this age of AI. How does one break free from that to continue that they can move forward along their journey of growth and not get stuck?
Yeah. And again, great question. And, boiling down to how do you tackle imposter syndrome into this banking context from this change concept, I think in general, for me, the way that I've tackled it is definitely through a sense of humility. And what I think is important is to try and understand what it is that you are good at doing. What is the value that you can bring? And then learn how to translate that into that new environment, onto this new context. So for me, it's been very much a case of thinking, well, wherever I had past successes, what is it that I've done in that particular situation? And how can I then pick that up and move it into this new environment? Now, as I said, everything comes down to sport for me. And it's one of those things that is this ability to learn, or adaptive learning, ability to learn quickly and building a confidence that, well, if I can do it in this play or in this position on the field, when I start to recognize those same patterns in another play or another part of the field or another game, it then gives me the confidence to be able to move forward.
It's a great point about confidence. And I talk to leaders about this all the time. I said, confidence is your most important asset. Confidence is contagious, particularly for those around you too. And so you've done this. You talk about change and transformation. And you've experienced this. You've lived this. You went from professional football or soccer player to working in banking in a number of roles over a course of a couple of decades. But now you're writing a new chapter. Now you're letting go essentially of everything that you know to now write this new chapter, but you're not letting go of what you know. You're just taking forward with you what you need, what the strengths, if you will, as you mentioned, to then apply them now as a founder and CEO. You've moved into launching Second Wind, and Second Wind is what is a career discovery transition platform for athletes who are looking to unleash their second wind. Why make this change? Why make this transformation now? Because that is kind of the theme of today's conversation, because you've had to step out and write this new chapter here.
Yes, I have. And it's not been necessarily an easy path to make the decision, but the point of making a decision became effortless. The point of the decision became, this is what I need to be doing now. And it continues to energize me. And so through my own lived experience, or through my lived experience as a professional soccer player, moving into, like you say, into banking, as I look back at it, it was almost a logical step. It was a logical place for me to go as I left professional sports. And for me, I just did it. I got on with it. Hard times, found the good bits. It was a chance meeting at a Masters tournament. I've said previously, but that chance meeting at a Masters tournament really ignited for me this flame to go and better understand what was happening. And that was meeting a former professional athlete who I admired as a player at the time. And when I asked him, it's been 10, 15 years since we retired, how's it going? And he told me it wasn't going good for him. His role wasn't good. He was driving a truck for his friend that he didn't enjoy, and he lived for these special moments as a player at Masters tournaments. And that got me curious. And I put on my investigative hat. The curiosity just took me through speaking to one person after another, to ask how did they transition from their sporting career, from track, field, pool, court, field. It was really just getting an understanding of what did they go through. And the more I learned, the more I started to feel that I could do something about that change. And I felt, given my experiences, perhaps I could do it differently. I could answer the question a different way. And that's what really then inspired me, indeed energized me to make the leap and build Second Wind as a platform.